it's Jenna from the Up North Home. Today I'm going to make an upcycled skirt, and what you'll need for the project is a shirt of some kind. I picked this up at Goodwill today. It is a men's size large t-shirt. And you'll need some soft elastic, at least 2 inches wide. So I got this at Joann's today. And they have some really cute prints too, with some sparkles and all sorts of colors and stuff. So that is all you're gonna need, and then your sewing machine, of course. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first step you're gonna wanna do is to just lay out your t-shirt on a flat surface. I'm just doing it at my kitchen table. So we are going to cut this t-shirt from armpit to armpit. So to make it easy for me, since I have stripes, I'm just gonna follow this stripe here across and cut off this top part. So the bottom half, the body of this shirt, is going to be the skirt, and the top will be discarded or used for another project. So if you don't have convenient stripes like I do, you can use a ruler or a straight edge of some kind to mark your line, and then go ahead and cut that off. So I am just going to cut along this stripe. I'm actually going to cut the front and the back separately so that I get the stripe just perfect. Because I'm using white elastic, so that top, instead of a white stripe, I'll have the white elastic. I think that'll look really good. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but get it as straight as you can. It will be hidden behind your elastic. So once I cut this off, I'll be able to remove this pocket easily. Okay, so now I can see the stripe in the back. That way I get it right on the line there. Alright, and yes, I am left-handed, if you were wondering. So, my dad is left-handed, my father-in-law is left-handed, my son is left-handed. It's quite popular around here. Alright. Okay, so I'm just going to toss this top part aside. I can use it for another project later on. All right, and now I had this pocket on here, so I'm gonna try to remove that. I think my daughter broke my stitch picker, so I'm gonna have to just go through here real gently and remove this pocket. Once you cut the thread though, it'll just pretty easily come apart. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this, and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so I went ahead and measured my daughter, and I took her waist measurement and subtracted 1 inch for the elastic. So now I'm going to take the elastic over to my sewing machine and sew the ends together. Alright, so I have lined up the ends to my elastic, and I'm going to sew that at about a 1/2 inch seam allowance, making sure to reverse at each end. All right, so there we are with our elastic. Alright, so we are going to press this open. I'm just going to press it open with my hands, but you could use a light iron if you would like. So now we need to put some pins in our elastic and in our skirt. So we're going to put one right here at the back. We're going to lay it flat with the back on one side, follow over, and this will be the front. So I'm going to put a pin in here to mark the center front. Okay, so now I have a pin in the very front and the very back, and now I'm going to put pins in each side, so match up the front and the back. Follow it over to find your sides. And I'm going to stick a pin into those sides. Same on the other side. Alright, so now I have the back, the front, and both sides marked on my elastic. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the skirt. So I'm going to open this back up. Okay, so the sides are easy on mine because it does have side seams. So that is going to be easy to line up, but the front and back do not. So I'm going to turn it sideways and match up these two side seams, and that will help me to find my front and back. So right about here. Put a pin in there, and the same thing on the other side. Okay, so, and I'm not going to pin the sides since they already have seams. So now I am going to lay my skirt, grab my elastic here. So I am going to find the back of my skirt. Which is right here, and I'm going to put the wrong side together with the wrong side of my elastic. Okay, so I'm lining up the wrong side of my elastic, which is the inside, with the inside or wrong side of the shirt. So this is the back of the skirt, and this is the back of the elastic, and I'm putting those wrong sides together. Now I'm not going to line them up perfectly, so I'm not going to put them exactly together like this. I want the elastic to come up above that the skirt by just a little bit, maybe 1/4 of an inch. So I'm just going to have that peeking up like this. Okay, So let's see, I'll remove that one, and I'm just going to pin this together. All right, and I'm going to do the same on the sides and the front. So here I'm doing the front. I'm going to, again, leave that gap where the elastic is up above the skirt fabric. And I'm just going to put a pin in here to hold that together. So that is the front center. And now I'm going to come over and do both sides. And I'm just going to put a pin in there. I really need to get bigger pins. These are very old school pins. So as you can see, we have a lot more fabric than we do elastic. So as we sew, we're going to hold the points at the pins, and we're going to sew, and we're going to pull the elastic stretched out till it is the same length as the fabric. Then when we let go, we'll have a nice gathered look in our skirt. But let me go ahead and pin this last side here. This doesn't have to be perfect, so do not stress over it too much. All right. If you hear crazy children downstairs, don't worry, that is my kids are playing. All right, so now I am ready to sew on my sewing machine. All right, so I've got my sewing machine set up and ready to go. I'm going to start sewing at the back center where we have our seam and the elastic. And we are going to be using a zigzag stitch so that it's nice and stretchy. I'm going to start just to this side of the pin and just leave my pin in there for now. All right. So as I sew, I'm going to pull back here with one hand gently, and I'm going to pull at this next pin up here. So this is the side pin. I'm going to be pulling both ways so that it is tight. My fabric and elastic will be the same length as I pull. And remember, we're going to be sewing right at the top edge of the fabric, but that fabric does not line up with the edge of the elastic. We do have just about 1/4 inch or so of a gap here. So for the zigzag stitch on mine, it's about a 5 wide and 2.5 long. Of course, that'll vary depending on your machine and whatnot. So test your stitch on a spare piece of fabric before you get going to make sure that you like it. All right, so let's get going. We're gonna just sew around here, starting with this first quarter. so we are at our first side seam here, so I'm going to remove that pin. And now I'm going to be pulling on the front center pin and doing this quarter here. And as you can see back here, it is nice and gathered. Looks really good. It's gonna be so cute. My daughter's gonna really like this. All right, so again, I'm pulling taut to tighten the fabric so that the elastic is the same length as the fabric. We got a nice smooth straight line, and here we go. So we are at our front center. I'm going to remove this needle, this pin here. All right, so now on to the next quarter. All right, one more quarter to go. This is great. I think my kids are in the basement playing basketball, so hopefully you don't hear too much crashing noises going on. All right, that looks good. Here we go. So here is where we started. I'm going to do a couple back stitches when I get there. All right. So as you can see, we have a great gather here that looks really good. All right, so now you may be wondering, why on earth are we sewing it like this? So now to hide our seam here, we're going to flip our elastic up to cover and hide the raw edge of our fabric underneath. Now for me, it's not that big of a deal because I am using a knit t-shirt material, so it's not gonna fray. But if you are using some cotton fabric or another fabric that's gonna fray, this will be great because you'll hide that raw edge underneath. No need to serge. So we are going to flip our elastic band over. So this is what it's looking like. We have a nice band here. So now we are just going to do the same method that we did for this line, but now we're going to be sewing from the top like this and pulling and stitching along this edge here. Alright, so again I'm starting at the center back of my skirt and I'm using the same stitch that I used before, so the zigzag stitch at the same measurements, and again I'm going to be pulling that elastic taut so that it is the same length as our skirt fabric. And I'm going to be sewing right along the edge here as well, as close to this edge as I can. Stop as often as you need to make sure everything's lined up. I think my home ec teacher would be cringing right now if she saw how fast I sew. Alright, we're almost done. Yay! Remember to lock in those stitches at the end. Alrighty, here we go. pretty good. So here is our finished skirt. I think it turned out great. Really like the look. I think my daughter's really gonna like it. Alright, so what I really like about it is how nice it looks on the inside of your waistband. No raw edges showing. I think that looks really nice and finished. Alright everybody, so that's it. It's a very simple tutorial and very easy for beginners or somebody who likes to do projects with thrifted items, which I do. Any excuse to go thrifting is a great excuse in my book. But I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you try it out, please let me know how it turned out. And I will see you guys in the next video. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.